Spider-Man 2. I've waited so long for the release of this game after thoroughly enjoying the first one and Miles Morales. And when I saw Venom was going to be in the second one, I was so excited to see the direction that they'd take this game. But today is finally the day. The story explained video for Spider-Man 2. Now, existing or returning viewers of this sort of series on the channel will know that these videos are created for those that maybe don't have access to the game right now, or maybe it's not your type of game, or how could I forget, don't have a PlayStation 5 because it is an exclusive after all. Let me know what your thoughts are on Spider-Man 2 down below in the comments, and of course, with this being a huge release and one of the biggest of the year, let's aim for 1,000 likes on today's video. If we do reach 1,000 likes, I'll be giving away a couple of copies for a few random people in the comments, so stick around to the end of the video to learn how to do that. Subscribe to the channel for more content coming as well. It's going to be a jam-packed end of the year for us content-wise, and you do not want to miss anything coming out. But without further ado, everyone, this is Spider-Man 2's Story Explained. Before we just jump straight into the storyline of Spider-Man 2, I think it's fitting that we get a little bit of a recap of the story so far from the first game and Miles Morales. So, let's watch it together.
Hey Pete, I'm working on a college application and it says I gotta tell them about myself.
More like sell yourself. It's the worst.
You got any advice?
Well, take me. Hi, I'm Peter Parker. I'm 25 years old, I have a bachelor's degree in biophysics, and I'm in love with the greatest woman ever.
Humble brag.
Who is the best journalist in this city.
Word. Go MJ.
I try to live up to the example set by the other greatest woman ever, my Aunt May.
Humble brag again. Damn.
And a while back, I was bitten by a radioactive spider and got superpowers.
I can't put that in my essay.
Hey, I'm laying the track as I drive the train. I've used my powers to help the city and stop a lot of people who wanted to hurt it. Like my mentor, Dr. Otto Octavius. His lab got shut down by an old colleague, Norman Osborn. Otto retaliated by releasing a bioweapon. In the end, I managed to stop Otto, but not without great cost.
That was pretty good. But I'm no Peter Parker.
Exactly. You're Miles Morales. You're 17 years old and a student at Brooklyn Vision's Academy. What else?
I guess I help out with my mom's work in Harlem every now and then. She's Councilwoman Rio Morales. And there is a girl I like who's spectacular and inspiring, and I think is one of the best artists in the city. And I also got bitten by a radioactive spider that gave me superpowers. I learned how to be a Spider-Man from the OG. But I learned how to be a hero from my dad. He was killed by Martin Lee in the City Hall bombing. The good I try to do every day is the good my dad planted in me. But it's been hard. Even with superpowers, sometimes we can't save the people we love, no matter how hard we try. A hero's someone who doesn't give up, though. And I don't plan to. I don't know, man. I can't talk about me without talking about Spider-Man.
Sure you can. You just have to... Yeah, why don't you just start another draft?
Okay, so now we've got our refresher out of the way, let's dive straight into the storyline. The story of Spider-Man 2 begins in the home of the Osborns, with his son, Harry Osborn, stood staring at a tank filled with an unfamiliar substance. Towards the end of Spider-Man 1, Harry Osborn said to the likes of Mary Jane and Peter that he was studying away in Europe, which explained his absence throughout the entirety of the first game. Whereas in fact, Harry was diagnosed with a disease that would almost certainly go on to kill him later down the line, and one that took the life of his mother. Therefore, his father Norman was trying his best to find a cure for Harry to make his fate not the same as his mother's. And one of the therapy methods was to place Harry in a tank and begin that process. This was where he was throughout the entirety of the first game, and at the very end, that's where we see him for the first time. However, at the beginning of Spider-Man 2, we can see Harry and Norman having a conversation pertaining to the thing inside this container, the place where Harry was once stored, asking him if he's ready and if he's feeling okay. Harry requested one thing from his father, however, that is that if this process didn't work, for him to take him out of this container so that Harry can say his goodbyes to everyone properly, his friends, his family members, before the disease takes over his body. However, suddenly as Norman places his arm around the neck of his son, something comes crawling out from over his shoulder. From within his blazer, a black creature which made its way into Harry and inside of his mouth, with it then cutting to a scene showing Harry inside this same container, held captive by this thing, screaming in pain. What is this thing? Well, that's for later into the video. We now cut to present day. Miles sat in class early with his fellow classmates coming in also. However, there was a new teacher at the school that day, one that was a little late to say the least.
Hi, my name's Pete, Mr. Parker. And we are all very lucky today, because this is physics class, and physics is awesome.
As you can see, a pretty tough crowd. Pete, I mean Mr. Parker, was trying to live a normal life, was also doubling as the city's hero Spider-Man. However, during his really interesting speech relating to physics, well, something started to happen outside. Sand particles started to plague the outside, with the student even standing and shutting the window. Miles spotted this earlier and decided that he needed to go and have a look for himself. He was excused from the class and burst back in a short time later, asking Mr. Parker for his assistance. This was not something Pete needed right now, as he needed this job, but this could not wait. Both Miles and Peter left the class and made their way to the rooftop of the school, where in the distance, Sandman, better known as Marco. There was only one thing for the two to do here. Both Pete and Miles made their way into the city to confront Marco and try to stop him from causing havoc around the city. However, when they got there, he didn't seem too pleased to see them. There seems to be a pretty long history between Marco and Peter specifically. Spider-Man took down Marco a couple of years in the past, and since then he's just held a grudge, throwing him into the nearest skyscraper. During combat, Pete gets a call from his boss, the head teacher, the one that they just abandoned completely. His students were evacuated from class due to, of course, the infiltration of the city from Sandman, and, well, he's not there, and she wasn't best pleased. Miles jumps in to try and help, however, had a very similar fate, thrown through a skyscraper. Here, Marco confronts him. Marco just wanted to live a normal life like everyone else, but since he was turned into the Sandman, he's never going to be able to get that opportunity. However, we had to bring him down again. Pete was swept away by Marco and decided to bring out one of the new prototype gear sets that he and Miles were working on, the web wings.
Web wings? They're flying!
But we're not out of this yet. Marco's at Pier 4 Beach.
What happens if he gets all that sand?
I think he just did.
Miles and Pete use water and electricity to bring down Marco and defeat the Sandman, and have him finally be taken away. However, before he is taken away, Marco mentions to both Pete and Miles that they're going to need help when they come for them. Who is he referring to? Sandman was taken away to a facility, and it's then that we travel 6 months into the past. Here, we see a man moving cautiously through a jungle, one covered in scars, tattoos, and mud. He spots a leaf in front of him which looks to be covered in blood. He stops, tastes to confirm, and hears a rumble in front of him. He stabs a fake being, a mannequin, and behind him, a man called Craven. Craven kills this man with great ease with his bare hands, and others follow behind him. This guy looks to be very powerful, and he tasks his team with finding him an equal, someone that could best him in combat. However, one of his team made a suggestion to travel and search for exactly that in New York City, where there is a plethora of different villains showing up on this tablet, one of them of course being Sandman. Craven smirks at the idea, and they set off on their way to New York City, where the storyline of Spider-Man 2 begins. We then cut back to New York and can see the aftermath of the fight with Marco. Sand smothering the streets, skyscrapers completely destroyed, with the app used for civilians to report crime completely offline. The whole city's telecom network was down, therefore that was our first task, to get the app back online. Peter Miles restored the network in 2 areas of the city, allowing them to help a few people in need here and there. One of the requests was to save a VIP, and when we saved them, well, the VIP was someone very, very unexpected. We took Jonah Jameson to the hospital. However, well, during this time, Pete gets a call from his boss, you know, the school that he's supposed to be teaching at, asking where he is. Again, she wants him back at the school for a chat. So Miles, Genki and Haley all stood by and watched their conversation unfold, and well, it didn't go very well. Peter was fired from his job as a teacher there and then. Miles, however, lets Pete know of a job going at the New York Bulletin as a photographer. Pete will send in a few shots here and there, and there's a small bit of cash there to be made for him. However, once all of that was done, Pete decided to return home, where he meets MJ out front. Since the death of Aunt May, Pete's been living in a house ever since, trying to front up the cash outside of being Spider-Man to pay for a mortgage. However, MJ worked for Jonah Jameson, the one that hates Spider-Man, and, funnily enough, the one that he saved. Jonah might be clearing house internally at the Bugle, so she too could join Pete in the unemployment line. If she doesn't write a front page article within the next week, she is at very big risk of being fired. Within the house, we tried to clean up a little bit, as it wasn't in the best state to impress Mary Jane, and as we see, it's very much just stuff all over the place, with us finding a statement from Big City Bank showing that Pete owes almost $5,000 of overdue payments. We continue to explore the house, and it just brings back memories after memories. Jameson, as usual, talking smack around Spider-Man, and Pete, well, he lost it, punching a hole into the wall. This is when Aunt May walks in, staring at the hole Pete punched into the wall. She sat and spoke to him on the bed, telling him how busy she was when she was younger, stating that she took so much responsibility on and that she began to fail everything. However, when she started to focus on fewer things, she then became much better at those fewer things as opposed to doing a million things and trying to master them all but failing. This got through to Pete there and then, and that became relatable to his current situation. He's got so much going on with being Spider-Man, he can't be Peter Parker. Anyway, MJ leaves the house to follow up on a lead, and suddenly, a gasp outside. Pete sprints out of the house and the front door, and there was Harry. They both sprint over to him and wrap their arms around him like they haven't seen him in years. Harry tells them both what essentially happened. What killed his mum is exactly what he's got, and he's in remission. MJ takes off to follow up on a lead, and well, Harry wanted to do something with Pete. He pulls a bike out of the boot of his car, and they get on their way, catching up along the way, before finally ending up at their old high school. It turns out they used to do this regularly, with us flashing back to them as kids doing exactly this, breaking in and just looking around, or causing havoc. We make our way through the school, sneaking past all of the guards, and it was at this time where Pete only just found out about his Spider-Man abilities. This is going back in time, of course. So, was still getting used to things here and there. They finally reached the gymnasium, shot a few hoops, and went back to their mission at hand. Flashing back to when they were kids, a student named Flash broke Harry's laptop, so they were going to try and get him back. They finally got to Pete's old locker, this is in present day, and inside was a plaque, placed there by Harry, which is weird because they don't go to that school anymore. So how he got in there, we don't know. But then in comes a security guard. Pete thought this was all part of the plan, but it of course wasn't, and Harry ran off and Pete followed suit. They both sprint out of there, flashing back again to their younger self. The police were outside waiting with this flash drive in Pete's hand to try and get back at Flash. The officers burst into the room surrounding everyone, but of course Harry and Pete were hiding. Pete being Spider-Man, he was on the wall, and the thumb drive they came to look for, the guard picked it up. Pete got the drive back and they went outside and there was a helicopter. But this wasn't the cops, it was Norman Osborn. It was here that we learned that Harry's mother, Emily Osborn, had died, and his father came to break the news to him there and then. And this is flashing back to present day now. Harry gave him a pack with a pass inside for Pete, asking him to be co-founder of a new foundation that he had just created, the Emily May Foundation. Harry tells Pete to stop by his lab tomorrow, and together, they're going to heal the world. We then break to 3 VTOL-like ships, one of which contains Kraven. They finally made it to New York. Miles Morales was writing up something that he could use for college, and he was doing this on his bed in pretty cool style. However, Pete gives him a call, and any excuse to not have to do some work, he's on his way. His mum pins his mask to the fridge so that when he takes it off, there's a picture of his father, to remind him what he's fighting for. Before Miles leaves, however, his mother Rio comes in and breaks some news to him. She's now getting back out there in the dating scene. She wants to invite a guy she's been seeing over for dinner to meet Miles. They hug it out, as it must be difficult for both of them going through this process, and they agree. Miles makes his way over to Pete, and there they're stood outside a holding facility for all of these villains. The first one that walks out, Scorpion. He can smell the presence of Spider-Man as he leaves the building. Another also released is Martin Lee. This one touched home with Miles particularly, as he was the reason why his father died. However, suddenly in the distance, a series of red, yellow and green explosions all went off, almost like powder, fireworks, almost a ready, set, go notification. Suddenly, however, a series of boats and VTOLs came out of nowhere, firing at all of the guards on the ship, all with one goal in mind: to free the prisoners for Kraven. The ship was pulled in by a series of winches, preventing it from sailing away. Pete and Miles tried to free the winches from the ship, preventing the people drowning inside. However, it wasn't looking good, with Scorpio being freed by Miles' ability by complete accident. Miles, however, was caught by the Scorpion's tail, making him hallucinate, seeing his dad lay in front of him, dead. Miles breaks free from the ship and stops the propeller from injuring a series of civilians, but then walks out Lee. They stare each other down, but then suddenly Lee was grappled away. Miles tried his best to keep Lee there, but behind him, hundreds of lives were potentially about to be lost, with this massive propeller from the ship crushing up the dock. Miles lets go of Lee and destroys the propeller, and Lee and Scorpion, well, they were gone. Pete made his way to Harry's lab in the Emily May Foundation the following day. Inside, Pete comes across a tree with a plaque in memory of Emily Osborn and May Parker. Shortly after spotting this, in walks Harry and, of course, Norman. This wasn't quite the startup Pete was expecting, not like it's in a garage, it's an entire facility, more like an enterprise. But it's just what Pete needed to step away from maybe a bit of responsibility with Spider-Man. Harry gives Pete the tour of the building. Here we see all the incredible tech across the building, even going to meet Dr. Connors again, which was pretty cool. He's the one leading the checkup on Harry after his treatment. For those that don't know, Dr. Connors is in fact the lizard. But this is set after he's already had his outbreak, so at the moment he is just normal. Anyway, we meet Harry back upstairs and explain the situation to him, what Aunt May said. Things are so hectic right now, but Harry needs to explain to Pete that what they're doing here is something special. The impact that they will have, that they will do literally whatever they can to save the world. But before Pete accepts, there's only one condition.
Can I move my desk over there? I like to face the wall when I work.
Oh, one quick thing.
Pete hastily leaves after a message from Miles, the guy that took Lee and Scorpion. Well, Miles and Genki tracked the exhaust fumes from the nearby bridge from the VTOLs. However, no sign of them at all when they got there. Until...
Littering? Come on, man.
There looked to be a force field around a specific section of the bridge. Inside, a fight waiting for us. Pete checks a nearby computer and then takes off on a drone, and when followed we find the group of people that ambushed us. We find a location in the middle of the city, very run down. It used to in fact be an old food market, until a buyer last week took it over. This company, known as a shell company, has been acquiring property all over the city. Who are these people? Well, of course, it's Craven's crew, right? Pete makes his way deeper in and comes across a research lab. It's there we see a picture of Lee and the members of Feast, with Craven testing Lee's blood. Maybe he's trying to figure out where Lee got his powers from, along with Scorpion's hallucinogens, even going to the extent of finding the doctor's name that gave Scorpion the ability. It was further in we also find what Craven's actually looking for. Not just Scorpion and Lee, but also Black Cat, also other villains across the city. One thing though is that Black Cat isn't a villain, she's just a thief. However, before we could find out more, we cut to Craven. Here he's being introduced to the villains that he's captured, first one being Scorpion, in which he completely overpowered, breaking off his tail like it was nothing, stabbing him in the stomach and killing him there and then, so easily. Craven wasn't actually wanting to team up with these villains. They're his prey. If they're not his equal, they die. If they don't best him in combat, they die. However, tonight was a big night for Miles and his mother. Her date was finally coming round to meet him. But he gets a message from Pete, saying that he had to leave and they had to reschedule dinner for another night. However, Pete tells us that he found out a lot about who these safari pirates, as they refer to them as, were. Craven was hunting these villains down, just like Sandman said at the very start. They were hunting Sandman too, and ultimately, if they were successful, he would have been dead. However, there's one person that's close to Pete that is on the list, and that's Black Cat, the one we mentioned earlier. Black Cat was actually named Felicia, and it's Peter's ex-girlfriend. Miles tries to track her down and inform her of what's going on, and then out of nowhere, a portal opens, and out comes Black Cat. Miles chases her through the city and, well, she has a wand allowing her to portal around the city and steal more art and be a better thief, of course. We finally catch up with her, and then we try to talk a bit of sense into her about stopping Craven. Here we learn that Black Cat's current girlfriend is situated in Paris, and she's in a lot of trouble. She tried to use the wand to get to Paris to try and help her, but couldn't figure out how to do it or to get that far. However, Miles tries to help. They both grab the wand and both think of the Eiffel Tower. Suddenly, a portal opens, and there it is. Black Cat steps through, and she's gone. Miles now has the wand. The first thing he does is request it to show him Lee. But the wand turns into a note and disappears. We then get a call from Genki, stating that Mysterio, aka Quentin Beck, is making an appearance at Coney Island tonight, and he could very well be one of Craven's next targets. Here, he's putting on a show, and Miles agrees to participate as he makes his way inside. Inside this dream world, Miles is able to do whatever he wants, living his actual dream of becoming a DJ. This was really sick. However, on the other side of the platform was Martin Lee. Quentin Beck shuts down his ride after it went a little bit wrong, and Miles decided to take an early night and go home. However, Pete, MJ and Harry all enjoyed catching up and having a good time in Coney Island, going on a couple of rides, playing some games, and just enjoying each other's company. They moved to the go-karting section and there was a villain, Tombstone. However, he wasn't much of a villain in this state. Anyway, to end off the night, Pete and MJ take a ride on the Ferris wheel, and whilst Harry goes off to try and win a few more unicorns, they went up there and MJ gets a text. Jonah posted the new guy's story and not hers, so MJ's job is still at risk. However, suddenly, in comes the Safari Pirates, targeting Tombstone in particular. Pete takes out the goons, but they've completely destroyed the park, putting the roller coasters at risk, all the people on them as well. He does all he can to save them.
Sorry!
But out of nowhere, is that Harry?
Harry! Pete?
It was at this point that Harry knew Spiderman was Pete, and Pete knew Harry's secret. They reconvened at the top of the building and, well, had a well overdue conversation. Harry tells Pete what this black thing coming out of him was, or at least what he knew of it being. Dr. Connors said that this seems to be some form of self-learning exosuit, but didn't know what it could do exactly. Both decided to look into this a little bit more and take it back to the lab and run a couple of tests. So this is exactly where they both go. They finally reached the research facility in the Foundation building and just had a bit of fun with it. They were there all night. And well, in walks Norman in the early morning. Pete left so they could have a little bit of a chat. Black Cat, however, radioed to both spiders a little bit later on, giving them a tip as to where the location of the Safari Pilots and Tombstone was. Pete takes this one for himself and makes his way there. Inside, however,
Helping you out, Spider-Man.
Harry's wanting to help us too. So they make their way through, finally find Tombstone, and as the facility falls apart, all three of them sprint out of there. We speak to Tombstone and find that they were waiting for Kraven to get there to finish the job, what they said. But they ended the conversation in a civil handshake, and on their way they went. The interesting part about this is that when Harry and Pete fist bump, Harry's chest changes. The suit that he's wearing changes. The design changes. Interesting.
Nice design.
What do you mean?
Didn't you just... Huh. I guess I did.
Would you look at that?
Pete makes his way back to the Foundation where Harry said and MJ said that these Safari Pirates look to be looking for Dr. Connors now. However, MJ calls and mentions that she's outside of his house and reports that it's crawling with these goons. MJ was in the back of the truck and it just drove off and ended up being in an abandoned zoo nearby. Inside, we see a paper trail of things pointing towards Connors and the lizard. Further on inside, however, we find another villain's equipment. MJ in the background hears the cries of Connors though, and she takes a look outside and he's being placed into a cell, chained up. MJ makes her way to the cage and attempts to open it, freeing Connors from this cage. However, in walks Kraven. He's holding a syringe, one that looks to be injected into Connors' neck, and it was at this stage that he started to turn back into the lizard. Pete and Harry turned up at this point, with Connors and MJ making their way to the lab to try and recreate an antidote to whatever serum this was. However, it was too late. During the midst of battle, Kraven stabbed Pete in the stomach and threw him out of the greenhouse like he was nothing, with the knife still wedged into the side of him. Harry continues to fight Craven, equaling him in the fight. Pete losing consciousness, however, as Mary Jane escorts him into another area of the zoo, trying to get him out of all of this danger. His breathing was slowing down, and his voice was softening too.
I don't think... Am I breathing? I'll kill you!
Harry!
Do it then!
Look out! I know. Shh. It's okay. Come on.
I can't see.
Focus, Pete. One foot in front of the other. Come on.
Sorry. I was always so busy.
Don't. Look, we're almost... Pete, talk to me. Almost there. Hang on. Hang on. Come on. Get up.
However, Harry continued to get the better of Craven before sprinting over to Pete and holding him in his arms.
Pete?
Please stay with us.
Come on. Pete, come on, this is nothing. Remember in 5th grade when you...
He takes off Pete's mask,
No.
and there, well, Pete dies on the spot.
No. You gotta stay awake, buddy.
Pete.
No!
However, this thing that Harry used, this living exosuit, the thing that was used to cure him, it suddenly left Harry's body and covered Pete. Bringing him back to life.
What happened?
Pete now had this exosuit covering him, not Harry anymore. MJ and Harry leave, whilst Pete, well, explores his new powers. However, Craven was still alive, and when he saw Pete web away, or this Spider-Man web away with his suit, he couldn't help but stare in awe, muttering this.
The spider is mine.
Harry was taken back to the Foundation, laying on the sofa. Without this suit, this thing, Harry is a ticking clock. He could die at any time if this disease gets any worse. Pete needs to figure out how to get this suit off of him and back onto Harry so that he can continue living, essentially. But even Harry doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't even know how he did this. When Pete tried to remove the suit and give it back to Harry, the thing removed the knife from the side of him, and he was still okay. We need to find Dr. Connors. However, he was turned into a lizard at this moment in time by Craven. Although, if you remember, Craven had a vial around his neck, which was the antidote to essentially cure Connors. Or at least the blueprint for the antidote. We needed to find Craven and a way to track him down to get the vial from around his neck. And there was only one way that we could think of doing that, and it was using the knife in which he stabbed Pete with. We make our way to a pawn shop downtown, one that specialised in antiques. Here, the owner takes one look at the knife and the symbol. The owner was scared and runs straight back inside, as he knows exactly who came to the shops for this, and it was Craven. But the shopkeeper referred to Craven as Cravenov. We do a little bit more digging and find the location of a social club. Pete has the idea of changing into a suit and trying to blend in. However, he didn't have a tux on him, or didn't have one at all. But the suit kind of did him a favour here. That was pretty cool.
Whoa, I'm a spy. A spider spy.
We're instructed to take a platter of food to Kravenov's bodyguard, with Pete's suit now listening to his inner thoughts. However, we make our way further in, and there is Kraven's bodyguard, or at least what we thought. Here we learn that his bodyguard wasn't actually a bodyguard, and that Dina was in fact a tiger. We throw Dina a massive slab of meat with a couple of pills in there to help him nap away, and well, we carry on searching the room. Within the study we see a series of interesting things: an altar that Kraven prays on, a few vials full of what looks to be potions, a book around hunting, drugs for late stage chemotherapy, and a note mentioning a chapel. There's a chapel just down the road, and Kraven must be there with the serum. However, suddenly, in walks the big guy.
It's not what it looks like?
Pete fights them all off, and just when he thought it was all over, something really strange happened. The suit took control of Pete for a moment.
That wasn't me.
Pete makes his way to the chapel, and inside, there was Kraven. Kraven wanted Spiderman to hunt him, and as he throws him into the bell, well, something starts to happen to the suit. The suit, or this thing, it starts to react with the sound vibrations of the bell. It was almost like it was coming off of him. Pete takes the vial quickly and gets out of there and returns back to the Foundation. Here Pete and Harry used the particle accelerator to stabilise the serum, which was the one we took from Kraven's neck. However, it didn't really go to plan. Harry put out the final fire, and just as they were waiting for the antidote, in comes Kraven's men. Peter take them out whilst Harry tries to stop the particle accelerator. However, now that Kraven knows the suit's weakness, he was just using that exact method to paralyse it and to weaken him. Harry, however, disabled the accelerator, which stopped the noise. Although the more they fought off, the more that kept coming. Finally, however, the antidote was finished, and Harry removed it from the particle accelerator, and they just got out of there. But the Foundation, it was completely destroyed, completely ruined. Norman Osborn, shocked to see Harry hurt, because with the suit he shouldn't be, right? And he didn't know at the time that he didn't have the suit on to protect him. Pete takes the antidote, however, and now it's time to find Connors. Pete makes his way to Connor's house to try and see if they can track down the lizard. Connor's home, however, looks normal. As we get through the window, nobody looked to be home. Dr. Connor's wife and son left him after the first lizard fiasco, and since then he's just been on his own. Within the house we see documents and more all scattered around, one showing that he tried to cure himself. It was apparent that Connors might have had a lab in his basement of some sort, and when finding a secret room, there he was. Connors couldn't fight the lizard turning him, couldn't hold it in. He somehow escaped his underground lab. However, a vial of blood was found on the floor. The lizard is across the river after hearing reports from Kraven's goon's truck. Miles was with Haley at the time when Pete called on him, and he had to make his way to Harlem seafood markets to stop the lizard. However, when we got there, more company. Miles makes his way through the markets, trying not to alert the lizard and for him to escape again. He opens one of the shutters, and there was the shedded skin of the lizard. However, in bursts Pete, and this was the first time Miles had seen him with his new suit on.
Whoa. Hey, man. New threads?
The building's swarming with hunters. Any sign of Connors?
Yeah. Genki's tracking him.
However, the lizard quickly escaped the seafood market and dived straight into the water. Both Pete and Miles followed, taking out as many goons as they could along the way, until Miles fell into the water and, well, let's just say that Miles found the lizard. Pete, well, doesn't seem himself anymore. Something's changed within Pete. He's not the same person. Ever since this suit was on him, he's a completely different personality.
He's mine.
You sure? He's got big teeth.
So do I.
He's not normally like that, right?
No. He's never like that.
Even MJ talking to Pete, he blamed the losing of the lizard on Miles, saying it's better to do things alone. Which is nothing like Pete. Pete enters the sewers through a manhole and inside tries to track down the lizard, calling Harry and filling him in on the latest. Harry, however, isn't looking in great shape. Pete carries on through the sewers, looking for Connors and inside an Oscorp lab in the sewers. Inside, old antidotes, samples, mapping of celestial coordinates, and an ancient language study. What does all of this mean? Until Pete comes across a screen. This was the particle accelerator at the Foundation, and when it opens up, out comes an artifact. One that Pete's suit really seems to like. However, before we could look into it properly, the power went out in the room, and in walks Connors. It's time to try and end this once and for all and inject the antidote inside the lizard. Just as we were about to inject the antidote, however, the sound waves of the lizard's roar reacted with the suit, leading him to get away. Pete chased Connors through the city and finally tried to inject it through his skin. However, the lizard's skin was just too tough to penetrate. Pete tries to carry on tailing Connors, and then in comes Craven. Craven shoots Connors, injuring him with an explosive dart. However, well, he just got stronger, regrowing and regenerating his tail. Pete finally injects Connors in the mouth, and there he was, floating in the water. Pete saves Connors and brings him back to the surface. A short time later, when Dr. Connors wakes and sees Peter, however, wearing this suit, well, he was terrified. He tells Pete to come with him, so he follows. This is where he shows him the artifact again. This thing is a repellent to the suit. However, just as Connors tries to put the object back, the suit grabs it and Pete has a vision. This thing landed on Earth and it was found by Dr. Connors. He got closer to investigate and it was there that it grabbed a hold of his arm. At this stage, this is when his arm was shot off, and that's of course how he lost it. This, however, is only a fragment of the meteorite that landed just outside the city a couple of years ago. It's also where we found this thing which turns into a suit. This thing is known as a symbiote, the bond at a subcellular level with its host. Connors was surprised that Harry gave it to Peter, but when he explained how, that he was hurt, basically dead, it chose him. It all started to make more sense. Connors wanted this thing destroyed, but as soon as he said that and went to phone Oscorp, Pete responds, almost in a way that the suit was speaking. Again, after another interesting conversation with MJ, it's very obvious that this suit is getting the better of Pete, changing his personality almost completely.
It makes me a better Spider-Man.
He didn't care about the mess he made across the city either, chasing Connors. Anyway, it was time to turn in, and there was MJ. She wanted Pete to read a story that she'd wrote to try and essentially get her to keep her job. But when Pete got in, he just didn't seem to care. He fell straight asleep. However, hunters outside. The only thing MJ could do was stun them and try to escape, but when she turned around to have a look at where Pete was, he was gone. It was outside when MJ escaped the house that she could see what Pete really turned into, what this suit has turned him into. He's a killing machine. MJ called Miles and has him follow him. Peter throws something in Miles' direction. He's completely lost his mind. However, Miles can't let Pete get away, so he continues to chase him. MJ, however, tells Miles to seal her in the tunnel with Pete, she knows that she'll be able to get through to him and talk to him. So, she makes her way through a dark tunnel on the bike, and it seals behind her.
MJ, are you okay?
Yeah. But I don't see Pete. Hang on.
MJ walks through this tunnel looking for Pete the entire way, but the suit just seems to be after destruction and nothing more. Until something happens. The sound vibrations, the suit, it was reacting. MJ stopped it, and there, Pete fell to the ground. The mask came off. However, Peter was still asleep. He wasn't even awake during the whole of this. The suit has full control of his body. Miles, however, was outside fighting the rest of the hunters. When saving a man on a crane, he was injected with a green serum, sending Miles unconscious. And in comes Craven. MJ needed to wake Pete. However, when she tried, the suit did not like it.
MJ.
I wasn't trying to hurt you! That's there! That's my exit!
MJ sprints out of there with Pete in the suit gone.
We searched the whole tunnel. He is gone.
For now. But he will come to me soon enough.
The suit, it took the artifact found in the Oscorp lab. This must be where it's been feeding off of. Pete woke up on a park bench a short time later with so many missed calls, so many messages, but he didn't really care, stating that he had the best night's sleep that he's ever had, but has no idea why he woke up on a park bench. However, while swinging, Pete got a notification on his phone showing that MJ finally posted her new article, the one thing that will get her to keep her job, if it goes right. What's up with Spiderman? Stating that Spiderman is causing more harm than good, destroying the city. This confused Pete quite a lot. He obviously doesn't really know what's been going on because he's been asleep last night and this suit looks to be taking over him. So Pete visits Harry, who looks absolutely terrible, so ill, with Harry stating that he needs that suit back right now. In walks MJ, however, asking Pete what he remembers from last night, and his response, "I just remember feeling really tired, nothing else." But then Pete starts acting uncharacter-like, talking back, being cocky, telling them he's the real hero and that he should be the one getting all the praise, not them.
Yeah, it's pretty great, isn't it?
Why don't you pop some more pills and say what you really feel?
Hey, don't.
I'm busting my ass out there trying to save you, and this is what I get?
I said don't.
I saw your story.
I tried to tell you about that.
Yeah, but you didn't, did you?
I can't lose this job.
Your job is to write the truth.
I did.
The truth is, I'm the hero here, not you.
But as Pete was about to leave, he hears a scream from another room. One from Norman Osborn. Norman is trying everything he can to cure his son. Everything. He doesn't know what actually happened. Harry, overhearing their entire conversation, fuming, disgusted at Pete, watching him fly off and be selfish with the suit, as he stood there, dying, not knowing that this symbiote has a massive influence over his decision making and also his thinking.
Harry.
I said to leave!
Miles is missing, and his mother was worried sick. She'd been calling Peter for hours, but no response, until he showed up at her work and exclaimed to her he'd find him, but in a very uncharacteristic-like way. We then transition to the perspective of Miles. He was trapped inside some form of cage. Miles escapes and makes his way through this facility, locating Craven's office. Here, we see images and files all on Pete and the suit. And also there, a recording.
Night, I dream of my last moments. My body lying beneath my ancestors' sky in a field fertilized by their failures. Their tears fall from the stars as fire consumes my corpse. For I have done what they could not. Only an equal may taste my last breath, and may they send my soul back to the quiet depths of hell.
Craven is looking for an equal to kill him, essentially. Something religious going back thousands of years within his ancestral tree. If he doesn't find it, he kills them and moves on to the next, and this has been going on for as long as he can remember. Miles, however, became overrun, and without them fighting him, they instructed him to move through the door and into an arena. Here, Miles got his wish to fight Martin Lee. Craven was sat there watching, wanting them both to fight to the death. Miles beats Lee. However, Lee does something, sending Miles into another realm, deep into his thoughts. Throughout this vision, Lee tries to get into Miles' head, showing him visions of Pete, distracting him, making him feel like he's not worthy. From his mother, his friends, to his father. Lee was making Miles' father tell him to give up. He's a stain on the family, and much more. But Miles was way too headstrong. He wasn't having any of it, and he fought straight back. He fought back against Lee, telling him that he killed his dad and that he's here to stay, to stop him, to prevent him from hurting anyone else. Lee immediately knew who this was. He immediately knew that this kid, this Spider-Man, was Miles Morales. Miles, however, didn't kill Lee. He spared him and told him to find Spider-Man when he gets out, flinging him to the very top of the building and outside of a piece of broken glass. Miles, however, was still in captivity by Craven. Ganke, however, gets a report that Lee is at a feast downtown and informs Peter. Peter gets there, and this is where Lee tells him where Miles is. Lee telling Pete that Miles is a lot like him, and that he should be very proud. But as you'd expect, Pete just didn't care, thinking of himself, the suit, taking over. Thinking, what's so good about the new Spider-Man, when this version is way more powerful. Pete makes his way to the mansion, where the symbiote starts to speak itself.
Craven. Kill Craven.
Craven, however, shows after successfully capturing Pete and the symbiote. He's trying all he can to break the suit, to get through to it. Craven uses Miles as motivation. Pete gets very angry and bursts open the cage. And it's time to battle Craven. Kraven, however, had a couple of tricks up his sleeve. The bells, the sound waves reacting with the symbiote. Pete gets the better of Kraven to start with, even with his tricks. The symbiote fighting back, wrapping Kraven around the neck, strangling him there and then. Kraven was open to this. He was urging him to kill him, to strangle him, to end it there and then, to best him in combat. However, Miles came out of nowhere and saves Kraven's life, but the symbiote didn't approve.
It's just me.
So we actually go on to fight Pete. Pete wanted to strangle and kill Kraven, but Miles reminded him that that isn't what they do. This isn't what they stand for. Miles uses the bell again to try and pry the suit away from Pete. However, Pete finally hears him and finally gets through to him.
And what about MJ? You could have killed him. I know you're hurting, Pete, but you're better than this. I know, but no. Pete, come on, man. Just focus on me. Come on! You're stronger than this. You hear me?
And rips the symbiote off of him, and Miles captures it in a vial.
Come on, let's move.
They both leave and get somewhere safe. Here, Miles gives Pete the vial with the symbiote in.
These last few days... Miles, I'm sorry. Thank you for everything.
It's what Spider-Man do.
Spider-Man didn't save me back there. Miles did.
What now?
I have to talk to Dr. Connors. He said he knows how to destroy it.
Wait, what about Harry? Doesn't he kind of need it?
His dad is working on another cure. One that doesn't involve aliens.
You know, if you need me, I'm just a call away. Well, once I let my mom know this, she still has a son.
I know.
Just glad to have you back, man.
However, there's only one more thing to do. Speak with Dr. Connors and destroy the symbiote for good. Pete swings by over to Oscorp where he meets with Dr. Connors and gives him the symbiote. However, when he walks inside, a device spewing green smoke, and the symbiote seems to be reacting to it like crazy. But then, out walks Harry. Pete tries to explain to Harry that this suit is bad news. It needs to be destroyed, else he'll eventually lose himself just like Pete did. But Harry wasn't having any of it. He's waited so long, all of this time, for Pete to go get this suit off, for him to be able to be cured again. And now, Pete wants to destroy it? Harry was angry, and he struck Pete with his cane, breaking the vial containing the symbiote. And as soon as Harry said, "Do you want me to die?" that was it. The symbiote smashed its way out of the vial and sent Pete flying against the window. The symbiote swarms around Harry. Even his father walks in a few moments later. But this was no longer just a suit. This was no longer controllable. This was Venom.
Harry, are you... Oh, God.
Norman tried to get in between Venom and Spider-Man, but Pete saved him, and Venom sent Pete flying. Norman instructed his men to get the symbiote off of Harry, and do not harm his son, even to the extent of us playing as Venom, which was awesome by the way. Venom tries his best to escape the facility, but first it goes for the one thing he was looking for the entire time, the alien artifact it landed here with. However, Venom used a VTOL to get off the building, landing down into the middle of Times Square, where he came face to face with Kraven. Kraven and Venom finally have their final battle, the one that Kraven was hoping for, with this looking to be the end. Finding an opponent better than him, and to finally end it once and for all. Venom bested Kraven, and in the end, well, ate his head whole. Venom, or Harry, took a look at the blood smothering his hands and got the hell out of there. Harry goes to his mother's grave, wondering what had just happened. What did he just do? Asking his mother what he'd just done. With now the symbiote impersonating his mother, speaking on behalf of her, with the voices cutting in and out. The symbiote wants to rule the world. It wants to take over completely. And when Harry is shown this, well, you can really see what it does want to do. Heal everyone. Pete crawls out from under the debris of the Oscorp lab, where he has a brainwave. The ID pass used in Oscorp were all RF enabled, meaning that he could use the satellites to pinpoint his location across the city. So, we do exactly that, and follow it around the city. The signal leads to an abandoned part of town, and it's very clear it's Harry's location, or at least where his pass is, and it's covered in symbiote. As we enter on in, there it looks like Harry in the distance, hanging from the ceiling. However, when we approach closer,
Harry?
this wasn't Harry. The symbiotes are starting to spread over other people. Pete tries to call Miles for backup, but no answer, saying we need to find a better way to get these suits off these people. This is when Miles breaks the news to Pete that Kraven was in fact dead, and he was shocked. However, in conversation, Miles reminds Pete that the bell was one of the things that Kraven used to weaken the symbiote. Miles has a mixing app on his phone, so the plan is to recreate the sound of the bell, or similar, and hopefully that will work in weakening it. We make our way to the city looking for a series of sounds to try and engineer one together, and Pete finally shows up with the device. This device produces a sonic burst, which when directed towards a symbiote, will strip it off the host. So, now that we have this, it's time to track down Venom. Venom was taking civilians and throwing them into the underground railway. This is how so many people are turning. On a phone call earlier with Miles, Ganke and Rio, Miles' mum, were on the subway looking for him, and of course this is exactly where Venom is turning people into these symbiotes. We make our way inside, and there they were, on a train cart. However, the symbiotes were not having any of it. Inside, however, we try and figure out a way to kill off some of them. So we target a series of nerves we found around the underground railway station, and charge up a huge blast with the sonic blasters to get rid of the bulk of it. When it goes off, it luckily did the job. We open the doors to the train cart and save Ganke and Rio. Ganke here decides to pour his heart out to Miles, as thankful as he was. However, it wasn't just over yet. Pete and Miles move across the city to look for Harry, and one of the first places that Pete decides to check up on is the Osborn's home. And there, we find a recording.
What's that?
Happy birthday, Em. They say time heals all wounds. That's a lie. Every day without you is worse than the last. If I lose Harry, I don't know what I'll do.
Norman's really hurting. I need to find Harry and save him.
We continue our search for Harry, however, we check in on MJ first. She's trying her best to create a banger story, and Jonah, he seems to love the one that she put out recently. She speaks with Pete and tells her that something's gone wrong with Harry, really, really wrong. Suddenly, however, a knock on the door. MJ gets up and opens it, and what do you know? Harry's stood at the door. Whilst on the phone, on FaceTime, Pete can see Harry using the symbiote on MJ. Pete races over there. However, on his way, he gets a call from Dr. Connors. He, throughout the story, has asked Pete, Harry, and anyone else that's had this symbiote suit on if they've ever had any symptoms such as soreness, aches, or fatigue. It turns out the symbiote is a hive mind, and well, it may not fully be out of Pete's mind just yet. Or anyone's that's possessed it for that matter. Connors wants Pete to return to the lab for some tests eventually. However, right now we have some more pressing matters to attend to, and that's to save MJ. Pete gets home and rushes into the house. Both Harry and MJ sat on the table with a cup of coffee. MJ looking tense. Harry, however, wanting to help.
Coffee?
We need to talk.
You must get tired making the world a better place every single day. But I can help. All you have to do is let me.
This isn't you.
Wrong. This is the real me. I finally have the power to realize our vision. Are you giving up on me?
Harry, we need to get that thing off you.
Do not call us a thing. We are not, Harry. We are.
Venom takes MJ and does the one thing that Pete was worried about, turning her into a symbiote.
Let her go!
have her!
Too late.
And oh my god, we have to fight MJ, known as Scream.
I'm sorry.
We start trying to talk to MJ inside the symbiote, and here we see MJ starting to fight back. However, the constant fighting really got the better of Pete, but when it got really tough, Pete decided to try and get through to MJ just by talking to her, and she started to fight back, also using the vibrations and sound waves of the different metal objects around. It started to work, and finally, she was out of the suit.
Are you?
Am I? I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay.
You did it.
Wait.
But not only is she now out of the suit, she's a damn badass.
Watson, where are you with my apple fritters? I'm starving, and
Jonah? Kiss my ass. I quit.
Watson!
You're so cool.
Pete and MJ started talking, and here, just as Connor said, it was like a hive mind. MJ was able to see way into the mind of Venom and Harry, seeing what's going on everywhere, what all of the other symbiotes could see, and she even saw Pete. Pete makes his way downtown to meet Miles, and the symbiotes are completely taking over City Hall. Pete and Miles take them out and pry open the door into City Hall, and there we're greeted with an ambush of symbiotes. Miles and Pete were both strapped down, and just as Miles was overrun, in comes an unexpected ally, Martin Lee. It was here that Peter was completely taken over again by the symbiotes, and Martin Lee tells Miles that the only way to get this thing completely out of Pete's head is to go inside and remove it from the source. So Martin and Miles both do exactly that, travel inside Pete's mind and look for the source of the symbiote. When they're inside, they finally found the source, but it was much stronger than Lee thought. All the people that Pete put away into prison, all the people that he captured and put away, all the people that he defeated and put away, are all here in his mind. This must really be playing on Pete's conscience. When suddenly, Dr. Octavius, the Vulture, Scorpio, Electro, Rhino all come out of nowhere and go for Miles. This of course is all in Pete's subconscious, but it happens. We reach the end, where we see a house in the middle of nowhere, and it's May's house. However, as Miles gets upstairs, the symbiote strikes him again, and Lee once again saves his life. His powers still as effective in here than they are outside. The final location was Feast. Here we find out a lot more around Martin Lee's motivations from the first game and also Miles Morales. Norman Osborn is the reason Lee's parents are dead completely, so he dedicated his life to making his, Norman Osborn's, a living hell. However, of course, doing that has resulted in many deaths of many important people. However, they'd finally found the source of everything. Miles and Lee both tried to clear it out, but it didn't work. However, there was one more thing to try. Martin Lee said that he can try and transfer all of his power into the symbiote, and hope it'll free Peter. What will happen to him? He's not too sure, but just in case it's the last time him and Miles spoke, Miles wanted to tell him something. He didn't forgive him for what he did. How could he, right? He killed his father. But Miles did there and then make amends, pledging that he can't carry this hate for him anymore. Martin Lee tried to overpower the symbiote, but it just wasn't enough. So Miles and Lee both charge up their powers to their full potential and use it against the symbiote. And there, we see Pete. He was crouched over the hospital bed of Aunt May. This is haunting him, and has been ever since it happened. However, suddenly, Martin Lee and Miles are out of Pete's mind.
Come on, Spider-Man. Miles?
And there and then,
Spider-Man!
Pete wakes up.
Spider-Man, wake up!
The symbiote inside him, well, it's changed. It's turned a white hue, and, well, it has anti-venom properties. Pete takes his new suit for a spin, and there, Miles and Martin show up after. Martin Lee apologizes and says that both Spider-Men are who he aspires to be. He's going to set things right his way.
I spent years of my life consumed with vengeance and lost everything for it. You two reminded me that that's not who I am. When you help someone, you help everyone.
Where are you gonna go?
To set things right. Your way.
Pete explains what happened with the symbiote, and here, well, MJ agrees to move in with him. Pretty smooth. However, we still need to find Harry and Venom. Norman seems to be doing something with the underground lab completely open. Inside was Venom and Norman, with him begging to give him back his son, with Venom replying,
We are your son. Look at us. We are healthy, strong. This is what you wanted, isn't it?
Stop, Harry! We can help you!
However, it was too late. Venom now had the full artifact after retrieving the final piece from the underground lab, and he left.
What's he gonna do with that thing? I think we're about to find out.
Dr. Connors, however, pulls Pete to one side, or Spider-Man. Harry's gone, he said. The host and the symbiote are perfectly fused. Saving Harry's life could be an impossible task. However, we can still stop this by killing the symbiote. The only way to do this is killing the host and clear the rest of the symbiotes out.
Please. Save my boy.
Miles, however, when clearing one of the nests, or the hives, the symbiote called for him. Miles was pulled inside one of the nests, the symbiote in Miles' head. He needs to find a way out. However, before he could escape, Venom shows Miles a vision of Haley being ambushed by these symbiotes, but also the location of the artifact. It looks to be under the Harlem subway station, under the bridge. Pete makes his way there ASAP and waits for Miles to check in on Haley. He saves her, agrees to go on a date with her, proper riz from him there, gets the girl, and makes his way to the subway. However, Pete wasn't responding to his calls anymore, because he'd already gone inside, searching for Harry. The symbiote was completely taking over Harry. Venom knows of Spider-Man's presence underground, and, of course, he ambushed him. However, Pete gets through and searches for the meteorite. No sign of it just yet, but then Venom comes out of nowhere, and Pete can see what he wants to do, showing him the artifact, wanting Pete to join his side. Miles, however, comes bursting in to save the day, and they get the hell out of there. In this vision that Pete had, he was able to see exactly where the meteorite was, and asked MJ and Miles to meet him at May's house for a final debrief. The meteorite is located in Central Park's reservoir, pumping more and more of this symbiote around the city, adding more people to the hive mind. However, it wasn't until the symbiote was repaired using the particle accelerator did it start to fully form and take over. So, what if they cranked the particle accelerator up to 11 and destroyed the hive mind that way? The only way to do that, of course, is with the artifact. Harry is still Harry. He wants Pete beside him to heal the world, as he said. So if Pete distracts Harry, It'll allow Miles to take out the symbiotes and MJ to slip in and get the artifact. The three put their fists together, and this time they're going to heal the world for real. All three of them make their way to the entrance, whereas Pete, when he gets there, none of the symbiotes are attacking him. He drawn out Venom, allowing Miles to distract the other symbiotes and MJ to run underground and obtain the artifact.
Our gift will finally be yours.
Here's the thing, though. You're gonna have to catch me first.
MJ collected the artifact and sprinted out of there quickly. With Miles fighting off the remaining outside, she takes off on a bike, with Miles following. However, Venom is continuing to chase Pete, where they ended up in a place that they became best friends. Their school gym.
This is where we became best friends.
Yeah, it is.
And now it's where we become brothers.
Pete and Venom fight. However, midway through, Venom strings Pete up, and there tries to take over him again. Pete uses Lee's power to burst out of it though, and they continue to fight. However, Venom grabs Pete around the neck, and suddenly he can sense the meteorite's gone. Venom does something interesting here by growing literal wings and flying off with Pete in his arms unconscious. MJ reaches the foundation with Miles and runs to put the artifact inside the accelerator. Venom, however, got there very fast and threw Pete through the building like it was nothing, with Miles buying some time and pulling the roof down on Venom. Miles holds Venom off whilst MJ places the artifact inside the accelerator. Venom runs towards MJ and throws her inside the same room with Pete, whilst Miles does all he can to prevent Venom from getting his hands on the artifact. And just as it looks like it was all over, in comes Pete and MJ with the sonic blaster, allowing Miles to weaken Venom for a second, revealing Harry's face.
Harry!
Pete?
Harry took one look at Pete, and Venom took over again. Pete and Venom fought in the sky, with Harry coming in and out of consciousness, but Venom not listening at all.
Pete, what's happening?
Just hang on, buddy!
Please, no. Leave him alone.
Miles managed to retrieve the artifact, and both of them teamed up to take on Venom. Miles slingshotted himself into the foundation with the artifact and placed it inside the particle accelerator. Miles charged it up, and Pete, well, continued to hold off Venom for as long as he could. Harry was too weak to fight against Venom though. There was only one way to end this.
You have to kill us. I'm done. Either way, Pete.
No. We still have time?
No, we don't. It'll kill them. And then it'll kill you. Let's heal the world, Pete. Together.
Harry finally finds a bit of strength, rips open the symbiote suit, and allows Pete to use his powers to destroy Venom by killing Harry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Give me some room. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I gotta try.
Miles tries to use his powers to bring Harry back, to restart his heart. And he wakes up.
Thank you. Gotta get to the hospital.
Pete takes Harry to the ambulance outside the Foundation building as soon as he can, with Norman arriving in a helicopter.
Harry.
Pulse is weak. We gotta move.
What have you done? What have you done to him? I'm sorry.
With Norman
I'm coming with you, wait.
almost blaming both Spider-Man.
There are traces of brain activity, but his chances of coming back are very slim.
Just keep him alive.
Why?
Norman and Oscorp, however, were working on something different.
Get the G serum ready. ASAP.
For the last few years, tragedy has tried to tear the city apart. But we somehow kept going. We battled sickness, evil, cataclysm. We are tired, anxious, stressed, numb. But we have never lost hope. The city needs to heal. We're all ready to return to normal, but what is normal? What if it no longer exists? Over the last half hour, I've talked about how these events have changed me. But what about you? In this ongoing series, I will be talking with people throughout the city, exploring our new behaviors, new routines, new thoughts and feelings. I hope you'll join me on this journey. This has been Mary Jane Watson, and you're listening to The New Normal. Episode 1, done.
Nice.
I don't know. Are these good to go?
In a minute, I want to show you something first.
Okay.
It has molasses in it.
Yum, I'll take those.
Thanks again for the donation, Peter.
Pete. Have you talked to Miles about?
Not yet.
You ready?
Miles, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. I mean, I have been talking to you all the time. It's great to talk. So many good talks. I just haven't been talking to you about what I should have been talking to you about.
Pete.
Wait, let me start again.
I got this. All of it. Go be Peter Parker for a while.
Are you sure? It's a big city.
I can handle it. As long as I can still call you for advice.
You don't need it.
Maybe not now, but there'll come a time.
I'm here for you. Always.
Big bro. See you.
there's still one more thing.
What do you want?
The Spiderman. You know who they are, don't you?
Why?
They ruined my son.
Good. We all have to experience loss. Even you, Norman.
What are you writing?
Okay, I lied. There's one more thing after this.
Haley, hi. I hope you're hungry.
Food's almost ready.
Why don't you go show her your essay? He worked so hard on it.
Some guy in Harlem. Probably seen him volunteering in the city, helping out his city council mom, and trying to live up to his hero dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi. Miles, Haley, this is Albert.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Oh, and this is my daughter, Cindy.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Spider-Man 2. As always, if you've made it this far into the video, comment Venom down below. Let's smash 1,000 likes on this video. It's a brand new game, it's such a good game, and I absolutely loved every second of it. So comment that down below, 1,000 likes on the video, and I'll be selecting a couple of winners down below to win a few copies of this game. But what do you think of Spider-Man 2? What do you think of the story? If you've not played it and you're just listening to this video, did you enjoy it? Do you think it had depth? I'm going to have a story review coming out in the next couple of days, so make sure you be on the lookout for that one. But I absolutely loved it. I loved the first two, and this one as well was just amazing. I would give this a solid 10 out of 10. Leave a like on today's video. I said everyone 1,000 likes for a couple giveaways, and just let me know how far you've got into the video by commenting Venom down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well for new releases coming, and a couple of other throwback videos and things that are potentially coming to the channel over the next couple of weeks. We're trying to expand a little bit on the channel as well, so yeah, that'll be very interesting too. But guys, we'll see you all next time.